Once upon a time, there were 4 strangers: Irvin, Will, Chris, and me, Nicole. Irvin had his own IT company, a nice house, a picture-perfect family. From the outside, his life seemed pretty great. Yet, on a Friday evening, Irvin was huddled over his computer, scanning through Craigslist ads because he was missing something. No one knows more than the person who seems to have it all that money doesn't equal happiness. He loved his business and his family, but there was something about sitting behind a drum set, pounding on it and feeling the beat in his soul that made him need it, made him want it with everything he had. He spent any extra money on music, but Irvin will tell you that it all means nothing. A $3,000 guitar is worthless if it's sitting in the corner collecting dust. Music is not about the instruments, it's about the people behind them. And our Irvin is at his best when he's excited and has something to look forward to. Irvin needed passion to be happy, and his passion was defined by music. Will was sitting in a barracks room at the Fort Belvoir Army base. When you think barracks room, you think low-ranking new recruit, but Will had 6 tours and almost 20 years of service under his belt. He was going through a bad divorce, and that landed him in this 12 by 12 room. Yeah, it was pretty sucky, but after you've jumped out of a plane in the middle of the night, hoping your parachute opens, you can't really say anything back home sucks. At 18 years, he should have been medically retired, but the Army allowed him to continue to 20. And now at 19 years, Will could see the end. By 37, most people have established their careers, settled into their family life, and are waiting for retirement. But Will felt like his life was just beginning. It didn't make any sense. His kids were in another state. His wife lived down the street in a house whose rent still came out of his paycheck. He was diagnosed with PTSD, had back problems from jumping out of planes, and was living paycheck to paycheck. Sounds like a recipe for depression, but you see, our Will is a dreamer. Music was his escape, and his one dream was to release a professional album and perform music he helped create. Some people would have given up on music long ago, but he thought he could make it. 4 years ago, Chris was in Atlanta. He had a job he mostly liked, but it was music that woke him up every morning. He'd been with the same band for a while. Yeah, people quit and joined along the way, but he had a stable core that really made the band work. He would probably still be there now, but the band ended in the worst way. The lead singer, his writing partner, and after all these years, one of his closest friends passed away. The band unraveled, and suddenly, a city that used to be his life became a painful reminder of what used to be. So, he decided to take a chance of finding happiness somewhere else. He left his job, his friends, his life, packed up, and moved to DC. Chris says if you find a job where you like 75% of what you do, you're doing all right. And if you like 85%, you're probably in the right place. 4 years into his new career, and he was struggling to like even 50. He hated sitting in DC traffic, he hated his job, he hated the commute home, and he didn't even have the one thing that would have made it all bearable: music. He poured all his energy into work and fell into the average American lifestyle. Wake up, battle traffic, work, traffic again, eat, sleep, repeat. But that was our Chris, always practical, always grounded. If music wasn't getting the bills paid, he'd settle for a 9 to 5. I was almost finished with college, 2 years late. When people asked me what's next, I'd say grad school, but I was lying. I was just giving an easy answer so I wouldn't have to face the skeptical, "Honey, you'll never make it. Why don't you find a real job?" looks I'd get whenever I told people what I really wanted. My dad always told me the thing you could get up and do every single day if you never got paid is the thing you should make your career. And the only thing I would do is music. When I was upset, when I was incompetent, when I watched my class and the class after that and the class after that graduate and start their lives, while I couldn't seem to figure out my place in the world, I sat alone with my guitar and wrote a song. Being famous and making a living off of entertainment is something you dream about, not something that actually happens to people like me. And when something the world dismisses as a pipe dream is what you spend all your time doing, you either feel really bad about yourself or you get angry and try to prove everyone wrong. I guess I was a little bit of both. My band members would say our Nicole is a perfectionist. I didn't know how to make it. I still don't. None of us do. But we do everything we can the best way we know how. This is the story of Butterfly on a Bullet, the story of us. We were all going our separate ways, but we all needed the same thing. If everyone in the world had unlimited money, we could all do whatever we wanted, even if it was that. But most of us are not. And eventually, when you pursue anything, you get to the point where you need money. Our story starts with our dreamer, Will. Searching the internet led him to Kickstarter. Sitting alone in his barracks room, Will decided to put his dream on Craigslist. Some people think Craigslist is a joke, but why not try? It's not like things could get any worse. When you're at rock bottom, you reach for any hand. I hadn't worked on music in a month. I was too busy. My music wasn't bringing in as much money as it used to, so I decided to stop chasing dreams and do something more stable. I was working 60 hours a week, 6 days a week, with no time for anything. I don't know what made me go to Craigslist that day, but I did. I didn't normally click on ads that said female singer wanted. I always assumed that meant some old guy wanted a female to look at while he creepily watched in the background. I'd also decided I was now good enough to not have to perform for free anymore. Will's ad only offered payment if the project was funded. And come on, you can't expect a bunch of nobodies to fund a Kickstarter project, right? But it intrigued me. A military guy asking for help on a song and a professional video that weekend sounded like the perfect escape from the stress of work to do something I loved, even if it was just for 2 days. So I took a day off work and emailed him. And that was the start of a year-long journey to who we are now. And I know before you start thinking, I am not going to sit here and watch this girl draw through a year, these stick figures are horrible. Don't worry, I'll fast forward to when we met Irvin and Chris. Will and Nicole were working with a singer-piano player named Susie. Susie found a Battle of the Bands competition and entered us. But you can't really do a Battle of the Bands without a band, so I put up a Craigslist ad looking for a bass player and drummer. Irvin and Chris were both in the same place. They were both tired of having nothing to look forward to. Any gig was better than nothing, and ours happened to catch their eye. Even though we were a new band, we were good at making ourselves seem established. Fake it till you make it is more true than it seems. I had a professionally recorded EP, professional pictures, and Will had the same. Looking from the outside, we seemed like we had it all together. Little did they know how much we did not. We were practicing in the garage of another musician we met on Craigslist, a drummer recovering from a wrist injury. We bought Irvin on as guitarist and Chris as bass. When we hired Chris, we made it seem like there was stiff competition. To this day, I don't think we've told him that the 3 bassists before him quit. We had no idea what we were doing. The show was in 2 weeks and it was clear we weren't ready. Our drummer was great, but you could hear the injury in his playing. He was pushing too hard and the show was just too soon. 1 week before, we told him we needed to move in another direction. Irvin went to drums and our first practice was amazing. Everything just clicked. We played the show, came in second place, and progressed to the next round. No one could believe we'd only played together for a couple of weeks. Coming off the high of the show, we decided to expand. We put Irvin back on guitars and held a legitimate audition for drummer. We chose who we thought was best, but then things started to fall apart. We rehearsed, but no one was really there. Irvin was getting busier with family obligations. Chris was planning his spring-summer work trips, and Will and I, who had become best friends and partners in crime, were at the always fighting I'm sick of you stage. We played the second show and it was horrible. No one could hear each other, we weren't gelling, and I'm pretty sure I sang our opening song in a different key than the rest of the band. But we brushed it off and kept going. We had a great drummer with an awesome family, but his goal was to be a cover band. He saw that we were all focused on originals, so we kept in a few to keep everyone happy, but it was clear. we were turning into a cover band. Our goal stopped being writing and became learn 30 or 40 covers by the end of the summer so we could start getting paid to play. Everyone hated practice and we all started to resent each other. We wish we could say it ended cordially, but it didn't. Will sent out an email disbanding the band. We got emails back, but we didn't respond. No one talked to each other for a few weeks and we all started to slip back into our normal lives. But there was this little thing called studio time we already booked. Time which, as evident by this entire Kickstarter, is kind of expensive. So, Irvin, Chris, Will, and I got back together again to record a song I had written almost a year before. I played it for Chris and Will thinking they would hate it, but they loved it and decided to develop it with the band. The studio day was the first time we'd seen each other in a month. Will and I fought the whole way there. Irvin showed up late and Chris forgot about it and ended up recording his bass part at our home studio a few days later. That's where we met Conrad, owner and senior engineer of Blue Room Productions. He had no idea where we were, who we were, or that we all pretty much hated each other. He welcomed us into his studio and made our day positive. Playing together again, playing our own music, made us reconsider quitting. We all played together so well and we kept writing these songs that got stuck in our heads, songs we knew were special and we knew people would like if they had access. Plus, this was a dream we all shared, a dream we all needed. We had to see if we could make it. Put aside our differences, our lives, for the sake of music we created. If we loved music so much, this was our chance to prove how hard we would work for it, how much we'd give up for it, how many times we'd crawl up from rock bottom to make it become what people only dream about. Maybe there was a bigger reason we all kept coming back together. So many people came and went, but there was something about the four of us. Playing together, doing last-minute practice sessions, staying up all night finishing a song. During all those nights where most of us had too much to drink and the night ended with us falling asleep, lying on the floor in Irvin's basement covered in children's sleeping bags. Whether we liked it or not, we'd formed a bond. Together we made something special, something that made people want to help, something that made our photographer shoot our last recording session free, something that made Conrad give us a free mixing session when we had to cancel the full one because we couldn't afford it. Something that's made people contact their friends to get us in magazines and to give us publicity. Something that's made a handful of people believe in us. We had so many people help us along the way. Some are still with us, some ended badly. But we like to believe that everything happens for a reason. Suddenly it stopped being about us. Quitting would be selfish. Quitting was no longer letting down 4 individuals. It was letting down every single person who believed in us and helped us get one step further. We were at rock bottom, but it's funny. When a bunch of people join you there, it's a hell of a lot easier to figure out how to climb. Once upon a time, we were 4 strangers. Now we are connected in a way we don't quite understand. Will dreams, I work, Irvin motivates, and Chris keeps us grounded. We came together to fly, but we can't do it alone. We've invested everything we have into ourselves. Some of us have invested until we have nothing left, but the list of expenses goes on and on. That's why it's hard to make it as an independent artist. That's why people have record companies who can pour millions of dollars into recording, promotion, distribution, and touring. That's why it's so hard to get into the music industry. You have to have a source with a lot of money, or you need a little bit of support from thousands of people. And this is where you come into the story. Maybe one of us is standing over your shoulder forcing you to watch this video. Or maybe you're a stranger, just like we were. We hope that you, stranger, family, or friend, see our passion, see our need to share music we think would enrich the lives of the people we pass every day. Maybe you have a spare $10, maybe you have more, but every penny counts. We want you to be a part of our journey. We want to build something special, something unique, something needed in today's music industry, and we want you to be a part of it from the beginning. Right now, while no one cares, Right now, while people scoff at us and say we'll never make it. Right now, while people roll their eyes and dismiss us as blind dreamers. We're standing at the edge of a cliff. At the bottom is either success or failure. But we'll never know until we jump, and we're asking, will you catch us?